Welcome, and this is the Grassroots Education and Entertainment Network, your number one source of information, education, and entertainment. For honest, responsible, and dependable information, we stand supreme. To stay focused, inspired, and relaxed, choose green. Ekabo and welcome to the traditional Herbal Health Show. And today we have a special guest, Mr. Errol Ken Roberts. I would read the Odu to open today's show, and then I would bring the guest into the studio where we're going to have some extensive discussion on traditional health. The Odu that I'm reading from today is, again, A.G. Ogbe. This Odu reads, if a friend is exceedingly kind, he is like a relative of one's mother or father. Ifa says that one who seeks a new friend would find that friend to be of great value. And this is the Odu reading for today's show. All right. So again, I'm going to welcome to the studio a friend, because this is a very suitable essay, Ifa, because the person who I'm about to introduce is a good friend of mine. He is a chef, a nutritional advisor, a bodybuilder, a personal trainer, and the list could go on and on and on. But what I would do, instead of saying all this good stuff about this person as if it's a eulogy at a funeral, I would bring the guest into the studio and I would let him tell us a little about himself. Welcome, my brother, Mr. Errol Roberts, to the traditional Herbal Health Show.
Yes, sir.
How are you today?
I'm good. I'm good.
All right. So tell us a little bit about yourself and your involvement in health and fitness and nutrition.
I'll first to begin with, I've always been in like health and fitness, and it's been about 30 years of a lot of trial and errors until I eventually really decided to make it a part of my life, in the sense of me educating myself and getting certified, and just doing all that's necessary to to gain the proper knowledge and to gain the 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 type of experience that's needed to kind of like direct people in the right way.
All right.
Over the last 12 to 15 years, I made it part of my life where I'm constantly in the gym. That
Okay.
way, I'm able to like make a living and at the same time pursue the things that I really want to pursue. Other than that, like the food and stuff like that, I got to realize that a lot of the food that we eat today is just not good. It's just total poison.
Okay.
And a lot of
Well,
people that talk to me.
Mr. Roberts, before we get deeply into that, I want you to tell me a little bit, because I noticed you were certified and qualified from the National Academy of Sports Medicine. Tell
Yeah.
us a little bit about that experience, the training, what it was like.
All right. Certification through the National Academy of Sports Medicine is exactly what it is. It's sports medicine. and you go through a lot of medical terms, a lot of what we would consider to be able to, they set you up to be able to work within the medical field and to be able to take a client from a doctor and be able to read and understand the let's say the medical language that doctors use or the medical field use. When you do an exam with these guys, it is intense. 60 to 75% of the people that do that exam don't pass the first time.
Okay.
You know,
So then
it's
it's a
intense.
very challenging
Very,
exam.
very, very challenging.
All
You
right.
know, and they make sure they put all the best.
All right.
When I got the personal training cert, it moved from there to the physical or post physical therapy. After that, women's health. After that, weightlifting, the whole concept of how to go about um, with weightlifting for strength, hypertrophy, with the young, the old, you name it. And from there, well, I did as far as the food was concerned, I have been a chef for like way before I started into
Uh,
personal training.
all right,
So,
Mr. Roberts. We will get into that. But before we get into all the specifics, right?
uh,
Now I want the viewers to know because we have viewers from the Caribbean. We have viewers from St. Martin, St. Lucia, Guyana, Trinidad, Tobago, right? And we have viewers in the US, of course.
mhm.
Tell me a little bit about growing up in Trinidad because we want the viewers to know you are a Trinidad homegrown, a Trini boy, who has spent a very long time abroad. So tell us a little bit about your experience growing up home and also tell us a little bit about the early stages of your life, about the little bush tea and thing now, boy. So people go kind of get an idea that you know a
Yeah.
lot about the tradition, you know?
Well, growing up home, it was a real exciting kind of venture. You know,
Uh,
give me one, give me
let
one
him sit
second.
with you, it's no problem.
All
Let him
right,
sit
come
with you
here.
if he wishes.
Yeah, come here, fella. Oh, okay. All right, sit down with that. All right. Yeah.
Yeah, so tell us about well, now that you have your child on your lap there, tell us about your childhood in Trinidad. I think
Yeah.
he too might be interested in learning something about what his daddy's life was like as a child.
Okay. It was basically, a lot of sports, like track and field. It wasn't, you know, glamorous, but I learned a lot. I was always the type of person always wanting to learn. Grew up in a household with my father. He was Muslim. My mother, she was a Baptist. Um, and play soccer. You
Yeah,
know,
well, I know you're saying it wasn't glamorous, but I know you used to play for the school team with all the girls and everything. So, I mean, I know your wife might be there, so you might want to get into. My wife is
yeah.
here, so I don't want to get into that either. But um,
Yeah.
there's a lot you could talk. I mean, we could talk for hours,
For
but
hours.
nonetheless, the show is just 1 hour.
Yeah.
So I want to start to kind of get into it, right? So tell me a little bit about your bodybuilding career because I know we started off back home. You, and Hendy used to train. Hendy moved on to being one of the national champions in Trinidad. You remember Tasha and Ulrich. We had a lot of national champions. Tell us a little bit about your experience with bodybuilding while living abroad because I know you've competed quite a bit and you have considerable experience with bodybuilding.
Yeah. Um, what happened is while I was out here, as I said again, I got certified and I decided that I wanted to change my look. And with all the hustle and bustle, you lose track. So all that I did back in Trinidad, I lost that. At this time, when I decided that I wanted to make that change, I was actually like in my late 30s, early 40s. Um, the shows that I did, those were shows that I did at the age of 49, 50.
Okay.
All right. And at that point, I was in the best shape of my life because of the knowledge, the emphasis, the dedication, you know, and just understanding how nutrition works, you know,
Okay.
in the body. So I went to the Easterns. I didn't place. I did the Brooklyn Grand Prix. There, I placed a second and I placed a third. And I was with guys half my age, you know. Um, After that, I had some other issues and COVID and a whole bunch of stuff that
Yeah, well,
came up and happened.
I know a lot of our lives has changed because of the effects of this COVID. All
Yeah.
right, so all right, let's move from the bodybuilding a little bit, right? And let's talk about personal training a little bit
Mhm.
because that is what you have been doing for quite some time. Now, I mean, again, I know I'm not guessing, and I don't even have to ask you a question concerning that. But I know you've been training from a very young age because we used to train together,
Yep.
from martial arts to bodybuilding.
Yeah.
So, talk a little bit about your personal training experience.
Well, I would say my foundation came through martial arts, understanding how that and to tell you the truth, back then I really didn't get the gist of what was being taught to me. Is after really getting into the education, I realized what it is I was doing back then and how important. So I had that foundation from then. So I just incorporated that into a lot of the training that I do with my clients. I have clients all over the place. I have clients in Boston. I have clients in Boston, in England, um, Westchester, Long Island. You know, I have clients all over the place, and they age, they range in ages from 14 all the way up to 70, 72 years old. You know, I do um, post rehab. I do a lot of weight loss, but at the same time, one of the things that I have learned about training is the psychological aspect of it as far as when motivating people is concerned. Um, the trainer that who's able to motivate a client is a successful trainer. There are a lot
Okay,
of trainers out there.
all right, but then
They would,
I wanna
uh,
ask this. I mean, given the fact that we started to train from a very young age. I guess the mechanical aspect of the training and the skills that are required, you didn't have to focus a hell of a lot on that.
no,
But I'm certain when you're talking about the psychological aspect, is something that was probably new to you. All right.
yes,
But tell us something though, in relation to that psychology. Not that I want to go too deep into it, but you mentioned different age categories. How does your approach vary? Like we say, if you're training a 14-year-old versus a 30-year-old, a 40-year-old, a 65-year-old. I mean, what were some of the differences in the psychological approach you had to use in order to motivate these people?
well, a lot of it has to do with the social aspect of their lives, as far as where like age is concerned and what might be going on in their lives. You
Okay, so
know,
you look for that trigger point of their
you
interest,
look for
things,
that trigger point
why they are in the gym, what it is they're
while they're in
trying
the
to
gym.
accomplish.
Right. You know, and most people are susceptible and easy to accept how to put it, that type of psychological motivation when
Okay.
the body is exhausted. You push someone to the point of exhaustion, they're easily their mind are more open and more inclined to be motivated in that direction that you want them to go.
All right. Okay.
You
Well,
know?
so we want to look at another facet of your life. We want to talk a little bit about your experience as a chef, and we also want to talk about how that has impacted you with the fitness thing as far as giving nutritional guidance and advice is concerned.
Well, as you know, we live in an era where the food has been industrialized, and that industrialization of food has made it to the point where you have a lot of GMOs and you name it, they have it out there. And a lot of the food that we eat impact us in ways on the cellular level, on the on a plane where we are not really even looking for hormonal. The aging factor in food, it it plays a role where at a young person, GMOs or food that's manufactured doesn't have such a negative impact on you because the body is able to deal with it. But as you get older, your body starts to feel the hit of like GMOs and high fructose corn syrups and stuff that would send your glycemic levels up, and certain types of sugars and starches that we eat that may not have affected us when we were younger, but as we get older, it starts to have a serious impact on our lives. It leads to diabetes, high blood pressure, you name it. A lot of diseases today that we may think is genetic could be prevented just by the change in diet, you know, just by the change in the food that we eat, you
Okay,
know.
so well then I would take it that from what you're saying, you generally would advocate a change in lifestyle for persons who want to improve their health and fitness
Based on the age,
based on
based on
the
the
age.
age and the genetic makeup, because a lot of times I go the route of medical profession. I ask a lot about the family history, you know, and within the family history, what kind of diseases they're prone to, what kind of if you had a death in the family, from let's say a brother, a sister, father, mother, what they died from. So I have an inclination of what you are susceptible to, you know. And
Okay.
with that, I could advise you on, you shouldn't be eating this or you should eat that. A lot of people would self-sabotage themselves. They know what they're supposed to eat and what they're not supposed to eat, and they go right on ahead and eat it. But you pay a price for that. You know, they say you could carry the horse to the water, but you can't make him drink it. So I direct as much as I can. I motivate as much as I can. But at the end of the day, the person that's paying me is the one that's going to either reap the benefits of that, or they're going to decide to go their own way as far as what they want to eat and how much they want to eat and when they want to eat.
All right. So for my viewers who are in the US, right, I would like them to hear the services that you offer at the moment as far as the personal instruction and that type of personal trainer thing is concerned. So
Hmm.
this is at the stage in the program where you get a chance to plug yourself in. You could give your contact information, all that type of thing. So go ahead.
Okay. All right. I am at present doing a lot of stuff in the line of stretching. And there are a lot of trainers out there that, as I say again, they train and they're into the food and whatnot, supplements and nutrition, but a lot of people does not really get into like the stretching aspect. A lot of people have like back pain, knee pains, shoulder pains, and all it has to do a lot of times is with what they call overactive muscles in the body, or muscles that just overworked, has what they call knots or adhesions in the muscle that causes pain, you know. So one of the certificates that I have is on stretching. Stretching is an art in itself in personal training.
Okay.
Not all trainers know how to stretch.
All right.
And it's more important as you get older. Muscles, as you get older, needs a lot of weight resistant type training because your body needs the muscle to be stronger to carry the skeletal muscle or your bones, I should say. You know, weak muscles, you have joint issues. Tight muscles, you have joint issues. Knees, ankles, shoulders, hips. Those are the four main things that a lot of people end up going to the hospital for, either knee replacement, shoulder, hip,
All
you
right.
know?
So the main reason for this, you're saying, is that the muscles that are related to these joints are
Mhm.
not properly developed.
They either not even so much properly developed. They're not carrying the load that they're supposed to, or they are overactive and tight and causing stress in the joints.
Okay.
So rather than you have that space for lubrication, that space or that lubrication that should be taking place is being compressed, and then you start to lose bone on the joints in between. So
Okay.
you end
So
up with a lot of pain and whatnot.
so
So I
okay. So
have
you, you're saying
I'm
the solution to this is
uh,
exercise, not
yeah,
over exercising or
not
under exercising.
no no. What I'm saying is exercising. You know, I'm not a proponent. I'm not the type of person to say that there's over exercising.
Okay.
Your body adapts, but understanding that that's not only about exercising. It's about stretching. It's about the nutrition. It's about what you eat, things to bring down inflammation in your system. You know, it's a whole collage of different things
All right. Well,
put
at this
together.
stage, I want to say two things. I want to say we're not giving medical advice. We are
No,
providing
no,
information for
yeah,
people.
yeah,
So for persons who have any acute medical condition, please go see a doctor because
yes,
we are not doctors.
yeah,
All right, that's one. And two, I'd like to apologize for the host of the show. Coach Ianti would not be able to be here with us this week, but she would definitely be here next Sunday. All right, so let's go right back into the conversation we were having. So
hmm,
you're saying stretching is something that apparently is underrated. Is that what you're telling me?
yeah, it's underrated. I mean to see you could get stretching through doing stuff like yoga and stuff like that. But I have a more hands-on approach to it as far as where stretching is concerned. What has been developing out of late is a lot of there are a few companies that's opening up like gym, not they're not gyms, but they're offering that as a thing that's for stretching only.
They
Like you
offering
go,
a health and fitness service, but it's not the typical gym.
no,
The
it's not
emphasis
a
is on
gym. You're just
stretching.
going in for a stretch.
Okay.
Or like you're going for a massage, you're going in for a stretch.
Okay, so there's like what, a yoga center? I mean, I'm
No,
trying to
no yoga center.
conceptualize.
No yoga center. It's hands on.
All right.
It's hands on.
All right, but
So
so you specialize in stretching. That's what
uh,
makes you
that's
different from
yes,
the other personal trainers.
yes,
So a person who looking for someone who specializes in this field should be calling your phone number.
yes, sir. Yes.
All right. Well, I
And
mean,
my phone number is 917 446 5092. Again, it's 917 446-5092. And
All
the
right.
name of my company is Kenergy Fitness Kitchen.
Okay. Now, Mr. Roberts, tell us.
Uh-huh.
I mean, you talk a little bit about your chef experience, right?
Mm.
But I want to know, in particular, do you give nutritional advice to the person who your clients?
I'm certified to give personal nutritional advice.
Also, then we could
Not
talk about nutrition on here then. Not medical, but then we could talk. No, but I want to know what we could talk, because I have to give the disclaimer for legal reasons. But
mm-hmm.
if you are qualified to discuss something, then by all means we should be able to discuss it.
Advice. I'm not a nutritionist. I'm certified to give advice.
Okay. All
You
right.
know,
So then I will put it this way. So what advice do you have for our viewers? You're not prescribing no medications. You're not telling them to not take their medications. You're not telling them to not visit their doctors.
mm-hmm.
But you said calisthenics is something that is important,
Yep.
right? Which is stretching. So
Mm-hmm.
what I would like you to do, what advice would you have? Let's say a person has problem with their hips, back, and knees, right? Are there particular stretching exercises that are targeted to these particular areas? Are there exercises you would recommend? Are there exercises you would recommend they avoid in terms of stretching also? I
Yeah.
mean,
Well,
we're looking to give some practical advice to the viewers.
all right.
That's kind of where I'm going with that.
Supplemental. I would, out of late, especially with COVID and people being indoors a lot, um, you being in a more tropical environment than I am, people have been advised to use a lot of vitamin D, D3. All right. It helps with the bones, it helps with the skin, eyes, and whatnot. Other than that, supplements, as far as where anti-inflammatories are concerned, are things that I think that people should, especially men, should get into. And why I say especially men, because of that whole thing with like prostate and heart issues and with the woman it will be rheumatoid arthritis and stuff like that, where the bones start to get like brittle and whatnot. Um, they had a drug called quercetin that I use and curcumin, which is a byproduct of turmeric. All right, or
Okay, well, I
condensed.
mean, we have the actual turmeric here.
Yeah,
So we had to buy no product. We have
yes,
access to that. All
right.
right.
And the curcumin, that one of the things that I use that's been bringing down inflammation in my system a whole lot to the point where medication that I was put on, I'm off of it. I'm not taking it, and I'm doing quite well,
Well,
you
I mean,
know.
this advice is quite fitting for traditional herbal health.
Yes,
Right. So
yeah.
you
And
recommend there are particular herbs that people should use. That is one of your advice.
yeah, there are herbs that you could use. Another, say again, more generated towards bringing inflammation down in your system. As you get older, inflammation have an effect that's different to when we were younger. When we were younger, our bodies were able to kind of compress or take it, compress it or keep it down or deal with it faster. As you get older, inflammation it takes over in a way where what used to hurt when you were younger and dissipate, it hurts a lot longer now and takes longer to dissipate.
All right.
And it all
Okay.
have to do with inflammation. It has to do with your diet. You understand, eating the type of food that would not cause inflammation in your system. So yeah, anti-inflammatory type foods, you know, um, that and I would say anti-inflammatory D3s and a simple multivitamin. Zinc is another thing that I'm a proponent of. At least with aging, and there are not a lot of foods. that carry zinc. One of the food
Okay.
that I know carry a lot of zinc is like pumpkin seed and, believe it or not, sea moss.
Okay.
You know, they carry a lot of zinc. But far where like supplementing is concerned, you could go straight for the zinc. So zinc and it could be complex or multivitamins and your anti-inflammatories, and you should be good, you know.
All right. So what? Well, in the case of men, what about things like calcium, magnesium, iron, and all these other things?
Calcium and magnesium. Yes, I would recommend that. Iron more for the women, you
Okay.
know. Iron more for the women. Um, Calcium to an extent because as you get older, yes, your bones become a little more brittle, but with weight training, bone density develops,
Okay. So then
and
you,
that
for people who have weak bones or diseases that are related to a bone condition, you would recommend they do weight training.
weight training, weight
All
training,
right.
especially like the older. I don't want to use I shouldn't use the word older, but the more elderly type of women, as you get a big,
Mature, the mature woman.
the mature women, as they get more mature, they should get into a routine of weight training, in order to help with bone density, you know,
Okay. So
and
beside using the calcium supplement, exercise is also recommended.
exercise is also recommended. And as you get older, balance is another thing that you have to take into consideration. You know, um,
But
balance. What you're saying?
but is that related to an iron deficiency? Because I know to some degree certain sources of iron
Mm.
ensures that your auditory canal and all of that functions optimally.
Yes, yes. But I look at it from the perspective of what the exercise would do for you, but at the same time, I'm not negating where, if you have an iron supplement that's going to help, that you not take it. You know, you could go right on ahead and take it. But at the end of the day, it's not just about taking just a supplement alone.
Okay, so it's a balanced approach,
It's a balanced approach,
a holistic approach.
a holistic approach. Exactly. So that way, you're still getting the exercise that you need. And as you get older, you know, it's not a matter of doing less. As you get older, you should be doing more.
All right. Well, when it comes to things like gym, right? A lot of people have stigmas. I don't know if it's a Hollywood impression or whatever it is, but they think that health and fitness and gym and exercises is for young people and that kind
No.
of a thing.
And it's not for you to have no six pack either. You
All
understand?
right.
It's for you to actually be able to do day-to-day things. It's similar to education. We go to school, but at the same time, we don't see how it relates to day-to-day living. And it's never taught or put into your mind how when you go to school, how it relates to day-to-day living. It's the same thing with the gym. You know, you go, you work out. And people, as you say again, have the mindset that it's for young people and this, that, and the other. But it had a lot to do with your quality of life, your day-to-day function. You understand? As a aging person, and you being capable of doing things for yourself, and not being at a stage in your life where if you fall down or something happened to you, you can't get up on your own.
Hmm. Well,
You need to have somebody to help you. You know.
all right. Well, I understand all that you're saying, but I could remember spending a lot of years around the gym, and you would have had people of different age categories. You would
Mm-hmm.
have had the young people who into sports and athletics. They used to be in the gym. Then you would have a lot of young men who want to put on weight. You had young women trying to lose weight. Then you had the housewives.
Mm-hmm.
Then you had the women who just had babies coming into the gym, right? And then you would have a lot of, we had a working crowd, a lot of people who, mature people, who had regular jobs, who would come in the afternoons to have a little exercise before they go home,
Mm-hmm.
right? Now, hardly you would see most elderly people coming into a gym facility
Mm-hmm.
unless it was for probably rehabilitation or therapy for some medical condition, right? Now, what I want to ask is, do you have any advice for the elderly or persons with medical condition as far as your experience is concerned? What approach should be had either to for rehabilitative purposes or to avoid finding yourself falling into a medical crisis for senior persons?
I would use two words: strength and flexibility. Strength and flexibility. Why? One, as I said before, as you get older, you need the strength of your muscles to help with your bones, because as you get older and the muscle strength goes, your back starts to hurt, your neck starts to hurt, your shoulders start to hurt. And all of these things be, happen based on what's overactive in your body and what's weak in your body.
All
The
right.
overactive parts of your body take over, and the weak parts of your body let loose. They don't
Okay.
have the strength to hold up.
Okay. So
So
the inactive
what
part hold you back, and
the
the
overactive,
active part overcompensates.
right? So the overactive parts, wherever it may be in your body, once it starts pulling, that's where it's going. And wherever the weak muscles are, they give up and they let loose. And it's like what happens from there on is an imbalance, and within that imbalance, you have pain. You have pain, you got injuries, and it's a whole streamline of different things where you got to be going by the doctor for this, you got to be taking pain medicine for that, and it's a whole streamline of things. And a lot
It's
of the
a cycle,
medication after
a
a while,
vicious cycle.
a vicious cycle. After a while now, with the medication that you're taking, next thing because your kidney is gone, you
All right.
know.
So, all right. So, what about women who just had babies? Is the gym, is weight training prescribed for them also, together with stretches? What? How does a woman who had a baby and is trying to lose weight? What recommendations you would have for that person?
I would say at least in the beginning, you do a lot of cardio type training, a lot of walking, and then you get into the weights. But after having a baby, one of and you have to look at it from the perspective of if it was a C-section or if it was
A regular delivery.
a regular delivery, and the main thing with most people is core strength, you know. When the core goes, everything else goes out of balance.
Well, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm just a lay person or whatever. But I
no,
think if a woman walking around for 9 months with a baby in she belly, she back will be strong.
no,
That's not necessarily
no,
so. But I don't know. You had to forgive me. I mean, I had two children. I know we went through the wedding, the children, the everything together.
no.
You know. But I would think so. I don't know.
After that, her back is very weak. Her core strength. She's very weak, and it's because of a hormone that the body produces called relaxin.
Okay.
What relaxin does, it prepares a woman for delivery. and it causes the muscles to become very supple and loose. All right,
Okay.
and it happens to ease dilation, or
Okay. Okay.
you
That's the
understand? So
contraction and expansion
right,
in
you understand?
preparation for delivery.
For delivery.
All
So
right.
with that happening, the muscles in the core area becomes very loose and very weak. So you
Okay.
have to work, and this is something that takes at least 12 to 18 months to
Wow.
get
So it's a
back
very gradual process
to
then.
that gradual process. To that
All
gradual
right.
process, you know.
And then finally, what advice you have for young people? And I ain't talking about the ones who athletic and all that. You know, the ones who are kind of nerdy and like to read the books now. That for them kind.
The ones that
What advice with the gym you have for them and for exercise?
that's nerdy and like to read the books, you know. I was training one of my clients today, and I was stretching her husband, her soon to be husband. And he's one of those guys. All he does is just gets up and run. And this guy is starting to become like this. His head is coming over like this, and he's starting to bow. And the nerdy types is one thing you do when you're like that. You're reading, you're on a computer, and this is what you start to do. Your head starts going down. The back and the muscles in the lower upper back, or what they call the cervical muscles in the back and the neck, become weak. And with what I was just talking about earlier on with the compensation, you start to compensate from the pecs. So as you get older, what will happen is that you would actually be walking as an old man. They're showing the picture with the head bent over with the cane crossing the street. That's how you would end up being as one of these young guys that likes, as you said, nerdy. What I would say is to them is look at your appearance, look at yourself and what you do, talk to the right people and find out what you're susceptible to as far as where like aging is concerned, and start working on that from early. As far as where like that's what you're talking about too. Another thing that's a big problem with that, and that's it became basically a pandemic from the time the computer age started was heart disease, high blood pressure, and back pain, lower back. And lower back pain comes because of sitting too much. The, the hip becomes tight, and once the hip becomes tight, it puts pressure on the back. So you have to find ways again, back to what I was talking about. You have to find ways to stretch your hip and stretch your lower back. And that is something that's not gonna go away based on the kind of work that you're doing. Let's put it like this. It's one of the hazards of whatever your profession might be, you
All right.
know? So and stress with the heart and high blood pressure, and all of that that may come from what you may think not to be a physical job, but it might not be physical to you, but to the brain, it is physical. So you're going through the same type of stress that anybody else that's working goes through, but that part of it, as far as we are like the posterior part of a person that's into that kind of, you got to deal with that. You got to start working on that and keeping that as healthy as possible. And as I say again, looking at the genetic traits of your parents and family members.
All right. So you're saying too, a lot of it is based on habits and the activities that you participate in,
Yep,
based on what you've learned from your parents.
yep.
All right. So we have another 15 minutes. So what I want us to talk a little bit about is about food, because I know you were a chef
Mm-hmm,
and I know you give nutritional advice.
mm-hmm,
All right. You mentioned GMOs, You mentioned GE foods. We need to talk a little bit about that because a lot of viewers may have heard the terms before. They may have even heard the term organic. And many persons really don't have a clue what these things are. So if I was to ask, what is a genetically engineered food or a genetically modified organism? What are these things really, and how do they affect me? How do I identify them? How do I know what to avoid? These are the type of questions that people may have. So if we could talk a little bit about each of them, it might be helpful for the viewer.
All
So we
right.
could probably start with GMOs.
Yeah, but genetically modified foods are foods basically commercialized entities that no insect would eat. No, no type of insect would eat.
So
Your,
basically, you're saying these are foods that are parasite. They are designed to
yeah,
eliminate the problems of parasites
parasites. Anytime you see
or pests.
nothing, pests or anything not eating it, bird not eating it, it ain't good for human consumption. No matter what they're telling you. You
All right.
know?
So you're saying one of the signs to know whether or not something is good for the human to consume is we look at whether or not the animals are willing to participate in it.
Yeah, they would know. They would know. Um, Other than that, what do you know about like milk and certain types of meat? They're nothing. I mean to say, farmed a lot of farmed fish. They use certain products to blow them up faster. Corn in particular, corn or anything that does not have seeds, technically GMOs.
Let's go on that things that doesn't have seed. Let's give a few practical examples. So are you
Um,
saying to me if I want to buy some grapes or I want to buy a watermelon,
yeah,
should I put up with the inconvenience of the seeds?
yeah, put up with the inconvenience of the seeds.
All right, okay. So it's better for me if I buy it with seeds.
Yeah, because if it ain't got seeds, it's a GMO. Yeah, it's a genetically modified organism. It's ands if for buts. You know,
All right.
we
So
we all would like to be eating grapes without seeds. You know, and you find some of them they're extremely sweet because they design in certain way that it would be like that.
so they put in certain characteristics.
There's certain characteristics into the plant.
All right.
You know.
So that would go for what's called GMO and
Hmm.
genetically engineered food.
Yep.
All right, so
Yep.
let's talk a little bit about this thing that people are talking about is popular. We want organic vegetables and organic fruits, and we want things that are organic. What is this thing that they are calling organic?
The only true organic food that you would ever get is when you actually harvest your own seeds and plant your own food. Because a lot of the genetic modification takes place within the seeds.
Also, you're
You
saying,
understand?
all right, so
So
let me
if you
ask
used to
you,
go and buy seeds from, let's say, agricultural place, a lot of those seeds are genetically modified and engineered.
wow, so you're saying, in fact, that you have GMO seeds and GE seeds also. So
Yeah.
while you think you have a natural seed and you're planting your own fruit and you're eating it, you have something organic, because
Mm-mm,
I the fancy word. And
mm-mm.
the other thing you will hear them say, certified organic. So it have organic and it have certified organic. Now, this is something that maybe we could talk about a little bit. A food could be an organic food and it could be radiated also
Mm-hmm.
in order to preserve the shelf life and to remove parasites.
Uh-huh.
However, when they pass these food through radiation, it changes the atomic particles in the food.
Yes.
So you
Molecular.
may get something that's organic, but it might be irradiated.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes.
while you're taking something that's organic and you're thinking in your mind that is natural and is good for your body, it
It's
may not
not.
even necessarily be
It's
good for
not.
your
And a
body.
lot of these things are causing cancers. They're causing heart disease. They're causing blood pressure. But the main thing is the cancers, the different types of cancers, because you have to remember your body, especially when it's inflamed, it's susceptible to a lot of different things. And GMOs have a tendency of causing inflammation in your system too,
Okay.
and mimicking certain things in your system. Like there are certain foods that mimic estrogen,
All
and
right.
estrogen is one of the things that causes the prostate to become inflamed. They said it's testosterone, but it's not testosterone. It's it's estrogen in men, a heightened level of estrogen. This is one of the reasons why a lot of bodybuilders, after they come off whatever they might be taking on, they put them on stuff like Clomid. Somewhere down the line, they end up with a either ED problem or prostate issues.
Okay.
You know, so it has a lot to do with a lot of the foods that we eat that we may think that is good, and when you really check what it's doing to your system, it's heightening the estrogen levels in your system. There's certain parts of your body that's responsible for for producing certain hormones, certain levels of hormone that have a lot to do with how your brain function and how your whole body function. You know, your
All right.
kidneys, your everything. You know,
All right.
so
Well, my brother,
hmm
it has been a great pleasure having you on the show with us today.
hmm
And
thank
hopefully we get to do this sometime again where we could probably talk a little more because we've only covered just a
you. Just
mere part
scratch.
of your vast area of knowledge, right? I would like to thank all the viewers, all those who commented. I want to say ekurole to everyone, which
Mhm.
is good evening for those who don't know what that term means. And we thank you for joining us in viewing this show today. All right, we would appreciate it if you all would like, share, and subscribe. All right. Now, my brother, just before we go,
Mhm.
again, for those who would have the opportunity to listen to this live stream, you may want to give your personal information one more time for the viewers
Yes.
who are in the United States.
And my phone number is 917-446-5092. And it's on the Kennedy Fitness Kitchen, LLC. As far as where like my email is concerned, it's Kennedy Fitness with one S and Kitch, Kitch at the end, at gmail.com. All right. Um, Other than that, that's the phone number. You could always leave me a call and leave me a message, and I'll get back to you.
All right. So, again, thank you. And to all our viewers, enjoy the rest of your evening. And we will be back next Sunday on traditional herbal health. Odabo.